Hey guys, Bruno here with Warehouse, back for another F1 preview. I don't know if you guys watched the Spa Grand Prix, or was it even a Grand Prix? There was not really a race. Sadly, a lot of rainstorms and a lot of standing water made it so that visibility was virtually impossible at the last Belgium Grand Prix. So there's only 2 laps of racing behind the safety car. We all waited, and at the end of the day, the race was pretty much canceled. Points counted as half because they did 2 laps, so a little bit weird. Hopefully we can have some better racing this weekend at Zandvoort, the Dutch Grand Prix. I'm extremely excited for Zandvoort. This is a track that was supposed to be on the calendar last season, but because of coronavirus, unfortunately it was canceled. So it's really cool to see Formula One coming back here after an extremely long period of time. This track is needs a lot of courage. It's quite intimidating, very narrow, very tight, a lot of banking. The last year they actually changed up the track quite a bit for Formula One. So on the hot lap that I'll show you guys today, you won't quite see it as much because it's not updated on the game, but turns 4 and the final corner are completely banked now. So a lot of speed that can be carried through there, and it makes for quite an interesting, almost like oval feeling. So we're gonna go ahead and watch a slow lap of the Dutch Grand Prix at Zandvoort. We come into turn 1, it's gonna be extremely tight first corner, nice hairpin, a little bit of banking. You kind of want to hug it as much as possible and you immediately start tracking out. There's not much tracking out that you can do because this track is so narrow, but pretty quick there. You can see here going into turn 2, very late turn in, very late apex because you want to be as wide as possible for turn 3. You don't want to be narrow here, you want to be very far over, late apex, so that you're not running off the track coming out of turn 3 here. Now into turn 4, so this is where a little bit of the track will be changed. You can see it a little bit, there's a bit of banking, but now it's very exaggerated in real life. They changed it up quite a bit, it's like almost domed. It gives you like, almost like Dover, like oval racing track vibes. Coming out of turn 4, up the hill, gotta be careful with traction there. Extremely fun part of the track here. It's completely flat out as you go through the hills. First to the right, then up the left, again to the right, completely blind. There's a bit of a bump as you go over the crest, which is a little bit intimidating. And now one of the most intense parts of the track. You're coming down the hill in 5th, 6th gear, having to come down the gears as quick as possible. You want to get down to the apex pretty early because the track kind of falls off a little bit. So you want to get down over to the curbing as early as possible, hugging the curb, and then you can soon start tracking out. But Zandvoort being very difficult and tricky, you got to immediately come back over to the right because the track kind of does its own thing and veers off to the left. So you want to be opening up the track as much as possible so by the time the track is kind of curved back over, you can be parallel with the white line. And that will be able to open up your coming corner as quick as possible. It's extremely quick through here. It's a pretty dangerous corner, not a lot of track to use on the exit, but extremely fun if you get it right. Now you can see very late apex here. I've lost track of the numbers of corners. Zandvoort's a relatively new track for me, but very late apex. You don't have much time to track out here because you got to bring the car all the way over to the right as soon as possible. You don't want to be hurrying over or too tight for this hairpin right here because you're just going to understeer off. So you got to be very quick to bring the car back out wide. Back on power here, we're going to get into the DRS zone and then into the final sector, which is quite fun as well, but very difficult. You'll see coming up very quick right to left-hand corner. So heavy on the brakes, parallel with the curbing. The track kind of veers off to the left as well. High curbing for the first part to the right, and then it drops down the track. You go down a gear into the left-hander. It's pretty banked, and it will be quite tricky to see some cars managing that. And then into the final 2 corners, extremely quick through here. As you can see, kind of banked in, it dives. This is where it'll be changed for this season. The track is just a lot more banked and you'll see it, and it gives you that oval feel. And the final corner is completely flat out in the modern Formula One cars. You can take it right as you get back on DRS. And that's a pretty slow explained lap of the Dutch Grand Prix around Zandvoort. We're gonna go ahead and now watch a faster lap, kind of pushing the car more to its limits. So hopefully you guys enjoy. It's a pleasure to drive this track. It's very nerve-wracking though, because you gotta be completely precise. But go ahead and enjoy the hot lap around here. All right, guys, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that hot lap of Zandvoort. Again, like I said, it's an extremely fun track to drive. It's going to be really cool to see modern F1 cars around here now. So really looking forward to the weekend. Moving on into predictions. I mean, last weekend was completely crazy. George Russell in a Williams getting P2. Obviously, you know, the race was a little bit weird, but he still qualified P2. Amazing result. Super happy for him, and I'm really curious to see what happens at Mercedes. But into my predictions. This is a home Grand Prix for Max Verstappen. I don't even have a question in my mind that it's going to go his way. Fingers crossed nothing goes wrong, but I'm going to go ahead and say that Max Verstappen is going to win the Dutch Grand Prix. P2 will be Lewis Hamilton, in my opinion. And P3, I'm a little bit stuck, but I think, very random, I'm going to say Lando Norris for P3. I'm stuck between Lando and Perez because the Red Bull will be quite quick here, but I'm going to go ahead with Lando Norris. It's going to be Verstappen with the win, Hamilton P2, and Lando Norris P3. I think the Formula 3's running here gives a little bit of advantage to those that ran F3 back in the day. So we'll see what happens. I'm really curious to see. It's going to be a fun Grand Prix, and I hope you guys enjoy it this weekend. Let me know if you have any questions or if this was a helpful guide for you, and we'll see you guys in the next one.